What if the truth you fought for was called a lie? And the only person who could save you was the most powerful man in the world. The gavel slams once, echoing through the military courtroom. She sits there, accused of stolen valor, her uniform stripped of recognition, her medals dismissed as cheap replicas. The prosecution smiles confidently, certain they will expose her as nothing more than a fraud. The gallery whispers, hungry for humiliation, ready to watch another pretender fall. But what happens when the truth walks through the door, straight from the White House to shatter every assumption in the room? The truth isn't buried in her testimony or even in her files. The truth is walking down a hallway in the White House, heading straight for this courtroom. And when the doors open, everything the prosecution, the evidence, the judge's assumptions will be turned upside down. They think they're about to convict a liar. Instead, they're about to discover that the highest office in the nation has been waiting years for this very moment. The courtroom smells faintly of old wood and rain. A storm has rolled in from the Atlantic, battering the Marine Corps base with wind that rattles the windows. But inside the court-martial facility is hotter than a furnace. Lieutenant Martinez sits alone at the defense table, her hands resting calmly in her lap, though her wrists bear faint white scars that no one has noticed. She looks out of place, dressed in pressed dress blues, but stripped of all insignia. Her ribbons removed, her decorations confiscated as evidence. Her dark brown hair is pulled back in a regulation bun, and her brown eyes miss nothing as they survey the hostile room. Across from her, Commander Brooks, the prosecutor, is already smiling like a man who's won before the game even started. He's broad-shouldered, clean-cut, the kind of officer who never loses a case. His stack of files is neatly arranged, full of service records and personnel rosters meant to prove one thing. Martinez has never been who she claimed to be, another faker. Someone mutters in the gallery, just loud enough for her to hear, pretending she was in combat. Pathetic. Martinez doesn't react. She's learned long ago that silence is sharper than protest. Colonel Henderson, the presiding judge, taps his pen against the docket and clears his throat. This tribunal is now in session. The case of United States versus Lieutenant Martinez. Charges impersonating a force reconnaissance Marine, falsifying military records, and fraudulent display of commendations, including the Bronze Star with Valor. The words hang heavy in the air. Commander Brooks rises, his voice smooth and confident. Your Honor, this is a simple case. The accused has been attending veteran events, claiming service in special operations, even hinting at classified missions. She has appeared in photographs with medals she did not earn. She has attempted to pass herself off as something she is not, a warrior. The evidence will show her service was 4 years of logistics work, nothing more. Murmurs of agreement ripple through the room. Martinez sits motionless, her eyes fixed on the grain of the table in front of her. She expected this. She was warned this day would come. The prosecution's confidence fills the room like smoke, thick and suffocating. Brooks arranges his papers with theatrical precision, each movement designed to project absolute certainty of victory. The first witness, a retired Marine, swears in and points directly at her. She told us she was there. Syria, 2018. She described the operation like she was part of it. Impossible. We all know no woman has ever been part of those missions. Objection. Her defense counsel mutters half-heartedly. But even he sounds like he doesn't believe in her case. He's young, nervous, probably handed this defense as an assignment rather than a choice. The judge waves it off. Overruled. Continue. Piece by piece, the prosecution lays its case like bricks in a wall. Martinez feels the weight of every accusation, every dismissive glance from the gallery. The retired Marine continues his testimony with growing conviction, describing details that no logistics specialist should know. His weathered face shows the kind of certainty that comes from decades of service, making his words carry devastating credibility. The gallery hangs on every word, their whispers growing louder with each impossible detail Martinez allegedly shared. Brooks nods approvingly, his case building momentum like an avalanche. The defense counsel scribbles notes frantically, but his slumped shoulders betray his growing despair. Her official file projected on the big screen. Martinez enlisted 2012. Discharged 2016. Logistics specialist. No combat tours. No special warfare training. No commendations beyond the Marine Corps Achievement Medal. The file looks damning. It is damning. The harsh fluorescent lights make the projected text appear even more stark and official. Every line of her service record screams ordinary, unremarkable, civilian-level support work. Brooks approaches the screen like a prosecutor delivering a closing argument, though they're still in the evidence phase. The audience can see it clearly now, the supposed warrior reduced to nothing more than a supply clerk who moved boxes and processed paperwork. No deployment ribbons, no combat action ribbons, no evidence whatsoever of the heroic service she allegedly claimed. Martinez watches her own professional destruction play out in real time on the wall-mounted screen. Her jaw remains set, her posture unchanged, but something flickers behind her brown eyes. The weight of years spent in silence, carrying secrets that officially don't exist, while watching her reputation crumble under the burden of classification. Brooks holds up a photograph of Martinez standing at a small veteran event, the Bronze Star with valor gleaming on her jacket. This medal, he says triumphantly, is a reproduction available online for $65. She wore it in public to gain credibility she does not deserve. The gallery shifts with disgust. Some shake their heads. Others whisper words like disgrace and fraud. Through it all, Martinez sits perfectly still. The storm outside rages harder, thunder cracking like artillery fire. The photograph shows her at what appears to be a modest gathering, perhaps a local VFW meeting or memorial service. Her expression in the image is solemn, respectful, nothing theatrical or attention-seeking. But the presence of that medal transforms the innocent moment into evidence of calculated deception. Brooks lets the image linger on the screen, allowing its impact to settle into every mind in the courtroom. The Bronze Star's distinctive design is clearly visible, its ribbon crisp and new-looking, exactly what one might expect from an online replica. Several gallery members shake their heads in obvious disappointment and anger. Finally, Colonel Henderson leans forward. "Lieutenant Martinez, do you have anything to say in your defense?" The room turns to her. Martinez lifts her eyes, steady, controlled. She speaks only once. Her voice, even by service record, speaks for itself. Laughter breaks out in the gallery. A cruel, bitter sound. Commander Brooks smirks, sensing the victory is his. The laughter cuts through the tension like a blade, transforming what should have been a moment of dignified defense into public humiliation. Martinez's simple statement, delivered with quiet conviction, becomes fuel for mockery. The gallery's reaction speaks volumes about their predetermined conclusions. They came here expecting to witness justice served against a pretender, and her restrained response only confirms their assumptions. Brooks organizes his papers with the satisfaction of a prosecutor who has delivered a flawless performance. The defense counsel looks defeated, his pen idle on his legal pad. Thunder crashes outside, seeming to punctuate the moment of triumph for the prosecution. The storm mirrors the tempest of emotions in the room, but Martinez remains an island of calm. But then the door at the back of the courtroom opens, not gently, decisively. Two men in distinctive black suits enter, their professional bearing unmistakable. The murmurs stop instantly. A third man follows them in, older, steady, the kind of presence that silences a room without speaking. Colonel Henderson rises to his feet in shock. The President of the United States has just walked into the courtroom. The transformation is instantaneous and complete. Conversations die Mitsentenz. Papers stop rustling. Even the storm outside seems to pause in deference to this unprecedented moment. The gallery, which moments before had been filled with cruel laughter, now sits in stunned silence. Brooks freezes mid-motion, his confident smirk evaporating like morning mist. The defense counsel's pen clatters to the floor. Martinez, for the first time since the proceedings began, shows a flicker of surprise, though she maintains her composure. The president walks with measured steps toward the bench, his presence transforming the military courtroom into something far more significant. History is being made in real time, and everyone present knows it. The president reaches into his coat pocket and produces a polished wooden case, weathered but unmistakable. He sits it on the judge's desk and opens it, revealing a Bronze Star with Valor. But not just any Bronze Star with Valor. This one carries a specific engraving, a date, and a classified operational code. The gallery erupts into whispers. Henderson pounds his gavel. Silence. This, the president says, his voice firm, is Lieutenant Martinez's medal. Awarded in a secure ceremony attended only by myself, Admiral Thompson, and two men whose names will never appear on any roster. It was presented for her actions during an operation in Syria that saved not just embassy personnel, but 25 hostages caught in the crossfire. Gasps ripple through the room. Commander Brooks blinks visibly, struggling. Mr. President, with all due respect, no woman has ever. The president's single word cuts sharper than any gavel. Enough. He steps closer to Brooks, his presence towering. That statement, Commander, is precisely why Lieutenant Martinez's service was classified. She did not claim to be force reconnaissance. She never once said those words. Others made the assumption she served in a program so sensitive that even most flag officers never knew it existed. He turns to the gallery, his voice rising with restrained force. And now, because of arrogance and ignorance, she's been dragged into this courtroom. Accused of being a fraud for telling the truth, she was ordered never to reveal. The storm outside has returned. Rain slamming against the windows like applause no one dares to give. Martinez sits still, her breathing controlled, but for the first time, her hands clench into fists on the table. Colonel Henderson leans forward, his voice unsteady. Mr. President, you're saying these charges are dismissed. Dismissed, the president says flatly. Effective immediately. Tribunal is over. He turns back to Martinez, his tone softened again. Private, even as the entire room listens. Lieutenant, you've carried a burden this country asked you to bear, and you did it with honor. I regret that it came to this. You deserve more than secrecy. You deserve recognition. Her lips part slightly as if to speak, but she says nothing. The moment is too heavy, too sharp. Behind them, Brooks tries one last protest. But sir, her service record was sanitized, scrubbed, sealed. The president's eyes burn into him. You think classified programs leave their operators exposed in public files. Commander Brooks, let me be clear. If I hear of you or anyone else questioning her honor again, your career will end before the ink dries on your next report. Brooks sinks back into his seat, pale and silent. The president gestures toward Martinez's defense counsel, who looks like he might faint from shock. Lieutenant Harrison, you'll be provided with a corrected record for your client within the hour. You'll find it far more complete than the one you've been shown here. He turns toward Colonel Henderson. Seal this case, every word, every file, every transcript. No further mention without my direct authorization. Yes, Mr. President, Henderson says quickly, bowing his head. The president looks back to Martinez one last time, his voice quiet. You are not alone anymore, Lieutenant. Not after today. With that, he closes the metal case, tucks it back into his coat, and turns for the door. The distinctive black suits move in perfect precision, clearing his path. The gallery remains frozen, the air electric with disbelief. No one speaks, no one moves. As the president steps out into the storm, lightning illuminates the chamber, and for the first time, Martinez allows herself the faintest of smiles. The court-martial facility is empty now, the gavel's final echo long gone, yet the silence still weighs heavy. Martinez sits alone at the defense table, staring at the wood grain as if the answer to everything lies hidden in the lines. The investigation that followed shook the entire Marine Corps base. For days, Marines whispered in corridors, sharing the story of the logistics specialist who stood up to a tribunal. The footage recorded by a medic spread faster than wildfire across command channels. But Martinez didn't seek attention. She kept to her duties, avoiding the cameras, the interviews, the noise. It wasn't about revenge. It was about something purer, restoring what the uniform had lost. Weeks later, she was summoned to the commander's office. The verdict: Brooks was stripped of his prosecutorial position. Martinez was promoted and offered a position in base training to teach ethics and conduct to new recruits. The Marine Corps had learned that legends still walk among us.